Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, what's going on with you this week?
Hey, just playing catch up still and getting ready to, actually this weekend I'm finishing my Airbnb. I'm hoping to have everything done this weekend. Yeah, I made Adam come down so we can knock it out. So I have movers coming actually this evening because this is first world problems. We got our first snow here and I haven't been parking in the garage because all of the Airbnb furniture is in the garage.
Oh,
so
no.
So I was late to a really important meeting because there was ice and snow all over my car, and I'm like, okay, I cannot not park in the garage anymore, so I got to get all this crap out of here and get it over to the Airbnb and knock it out. So hoping this weekend to have it like 90% done and ready to go.
So have you already put it out on the calendar so that people can actually rent it, or you just wait until it's completely done?
Wait until it's completely done because of the pictures.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We kind of have to do that too. We put them on the pictures, and then that's when people decide or pick them. Well, I can't wait to hear how that one does.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We're gonna do, Josh and Heath and I are gonna do a like an open house because we've had so many people asking questions about it and stuff. So in December we're gonna hold like a Q&A, informational session. So I'll have to get that information out to people too, but just to kind of start down that path of helping people understand it better.
Oh, that's awesome. People will love that.
Yeah. What about you? What's going on with you?
Well, let's see. We're about to head to Branson we're trying to close on some lots to do about 12 more cabins. Oh Lord, I've got to systemize the buying of the furniture and all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of right now it's in my head and I need to get it down to a system so I can delegate it to someone else. Yeah. But we've got to get closed on the lots, and we've kind of ran into some issues. So we got to drive there and just kind of get some things resolved. You know how sometimes you just feel better if you're there getting them resolved. 100. We could probably do it long distance, but somehow you feel better if you're just right there in the middle of it, getting it fixed. So we're going to do that, drive there over the weekend and then head back. Because we have to go to Austin next week. So just going to get some of that stuff knocked out.
Yeah. I forgot we'll be in Austin too.
Yeah. So, and then I had to leave the house pretty early today because one of our top agents uses our house each year for her, kind of like her goal setting retreat with their team.
Cool.
She has an expansion team. I forgot how many cities she's in. She has an expansion team that she's in multiple cities. And she just kind of gets them all together, and we always let her use our house or the ranch. It's kind of just a fun, cozy place, and they can spread out, and we have flip charts everywhere. And so we had to get out of the house pretty early today to do that. So I came over to the office to get some stuff done and grab some cabin stuff. We keep pictures and rugs and all those kind of things here. So we need to just get all that loaded in the Escalade, and so we can drive it to Branson tomorrow.
How far of a drive is that?
It's about 7 hours, and we thought about flying, but sometimes it's nice to have 7 hours in the car where you can actually talk to each other. And we listen to podcasts, and we're usually behind on church podcasts. So we'll usually listen to Matt a couple, and then I'll usually listen to Dan Sullivan. I'll listen to Gary Keller's, and I just get caught up on everybody's podcast all the way there.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. I know I'm doing this. I'm going to do the same thing when I go to Charleston for Thanksgiving. I've been looking forward to getting caught up in the car, listening to my stuff.
So one of the things we talked about doing is kind of talking about leadership and the difficulties that we can have when we choose and decide to be leaders. And this got brought up actually a few months ago. One of my agents reached out to me and really was kind of, just had some bad moments. And one of the first thing she asked me was, should I just quit all this stuff by myself and go back to doing it by myself? And instantly I'm like, no. And because I truly believe deep down, for our lives to be big as possible, we have to do it with and through others, and we can't do it around them. And if you're going to do it with and through others, your life is going to get messy, and it's hard. It's going to be hard. The minute you involve one other person, it can get difficult. And so without a doubt, I instantly was very convicted and believed in, no, absolutely not. And then so I talked her off the ledge, and immediately thought of a couple books, sent her a book that I really thought might kind of help her through the hard moment. And wasn't a mere few weeks later, I had a hard situation. And I swear to God, the very first thing I thought is, do I really want to do this crap? I mean, it's so much easier if I'm the only one that I have to get to do something. And I cannot believe that my very first thought was the one that I was so adamant that she not believe and buy into. And so it kind of made me, and then weirdly enough, I had another person reach out to me a few weeks ago, struggling with the same thing, a people issue. And so it made me realize that, you know what, we all have, if you're going to decide to wake up, and I think it was even when we were at Maxwell, one of the things he said is, leaders are made, they're not born. And so I think we get frustrated because we think it should be easy. And we think we should just kind of wake up and have the skills to do it. And I don't know about you, but most of the time when I have difficulties around people, I'm shocked at how I got there. In other words, I kind of wake up after the aftermath and go, how did we even get here? My intent wasn't to get here. My intent wasn't ill at harm. My intent was good. How in the world did we wind up in a mess? And, you usually get feedback from people, very abruptly and quickly. And that was what happened to me as I went in to present something with someone. And so I said, what are my lessons from this? And so the first thing I thought of is, when you want to quit, remember, if you want to go fast, go alone. When you want to go far, go with others. And so we all want to go far. And so therefore we're going to have to do it with and through others. And that means we're going to get lessons, and we're not going to be immune from things. And so I said, well, what are some of those things that we can sit back and ask ourselves, and when we have those kind of situations where either someone doesn't respond the way we think they should, or they think that we meant something we didn't mean, or when they don't take something we're trying to get accomplished what are some of the things we need to immediately do? So the very first thing I wrote, and this was advice I gave to two of the people, is one of the first things we have to do is, what is my DNA in this? And where do I have emotion around it? And this one's a big one, because I noticed from myself even that I didn't respond well coming from emotion, and I made up stories. And so emotion, I wrote this down, emotion makes us believe things that are not true and hear things that were not meant.
That's
so how can I unpack my emotion around it, or how can you unpack your emotion around it, whoever's dealing with it? Because it's the emotion that blows everything up. And so a really good example of this is, one of the things that I was trying to communicate in this situation that I was in was based off of a hearsay. It wasn't even based off of a firsthand knowledge that I had. And so my very first lesson I said to myself is, no longer will I start any conversation or go into any meeting believing something that was hearsay instead of verifying first. And so that was one of my very first lessons that I realized that happened in that situation to get me in that situation. And then the next question is, how did I not communicate well? Because I believe, and I'm always so hurt, and I remember getting even emotional in this meeting, that people didn't understand my heart. And so I have to realize that people don't just know your heart, they feel your heart. Mm-hmm. So how could I have said things differently? How might someone hear this? If I can, 99% of my problems would be fixed if I would spend a little time planning everything I do before I do it. If I wasn't such a quick start and jumped into things. And so I might ask myself in the future, how might someone hear this? What I'm trying to say, how might they hear it? Because it's my responsibility to communicate in such a way that the message I'm trying to get across is the real message. Now, I can't be responsible with how someone responds to it, but I can do a little bit of prep and try to figure out if how I'm going to communicate it, I just expect them to know my heart, or can they actually know my heart? So that was a big one for me. And so so the last one was, don't expect people to always know your heart. Show them your heart first. And then I put down, admit if you feel like you've done something wrong, or you were perceived a certain way that you didn't intend or mean to be perceived.
Yeah. Well, all of those are amazing. I mean, it's hard some days. And I think everybody who leads other people has times, where they wake up and think, why in the world am I doing this? And so one, I love that we're even talking about this, because it's, it gets brought up a lot. And there are definitely days where, you think, like, I have had times where I've thought before, why am I making myself feel like this when I could just go and sell houses by myself? It's like these thoughts creep into your head, and they come out of nowhere. But then when you really think about it, that wouldn't be a big life for me. And I think we get stuck being comfortable. And then the second that we start to feel uncomfortable, we like shut down, or we back up and we say, whoa, wait a minute, this doesn't feel comfortable anymore. It's like the 4 C's that we've talked about so many different times. And this just makes me go back to thinking about the emotional capital. And, I've worked so much with my coach on this this year, because I feel like I do build good emotional capital with people. And I think maybe sometimes it's not enough. There needs to be more. What I think could be enough is not enough for the other person, because you're so on to the next and you're on to the next. And and so one of the things actually that John Maxwell said when we were in London that I loved, because I tend to then go inward and say, why did I even have this type of person in my life? Or how did I even get to where I'm dealing with a difficult person? And John said one thing that gave me a big aha. He said, don't let the people that are hard to have conversations with emotionally into your life. Like, get rid of those people. Don't surround yourself with those types of people, because talent and true leaders welcome, having difficult conversations, or they want to get better and they don't handle things with emotion. And so I really started to think about it, and the difficult people that I have had or have in my life respond with a lot of emotion.
Oh, so true. But here's a good point, and I hear what you're saying, and I heard him say that also. But here's the thing, because I've had like 4 people reach out to me with people issues, and then of course my people issue in the middle, my people's issues. I've had more than one. So it's like, okay, God, I get this. I'm getting this lesson from all sides. But here's the thing, Dana, sometimes you don't realize that person is going to be emotional, right? And so I don't know about you, but I'm always kind of surprised. No one wears this big sign and says, hey, by the way, if you work with me, we're going to have lots of drama and it's going to be very emotional. If they did, I'd run like heck.
That's so true.
99% of the time, you don't know that that's how that person's going to be until they're already on your team. Yep. And so, I got to go back and then I got to say, where did I not uncover something on the front end because I didn't want to uncover something? So
Yep.
Where in my career visioning process did I not date them long enough? Because if you date someone long enough, crazy's going to come out. Crazy's not going to stay hidden forever. They don't know how to keep them hidden forever. So again, it goes back to how can I spend more time and experiences with this person to see how they're going to do in hard situations. And remember, 99% of the time when someone's emotional, under emotions, especially their emotion is usually fear. Under those emotions is usually fear. And so what is their fear? Sometimes it's how are they going to look if they're not winning, or, how are they going to, if we think about the situations we get in with these, a lot of times it's when we're having to address someone because they're not performing in a role that we have them in. And because of that, they're going to be emotional. And one of the things is, I think, to really think through, who are they behaviorally? Because remember, we each have a fear based on our behavior. A D is wasting their time. An I is not being liked, and S is loss of security, and a C is being wrong. So if I can kind of know this about this person, I might be able to see where they could get fearful because they're headed into where they either feel like they're going to be looked at wrong, or, or be wrong, or something like that. So I wish they had signs that they could put out early so we could all run away from them early. But in my experience, it shows up after I'm already in relationship with them. And now I got to figure out how to get out of relationship with them, or how do I work? Is it something we can work through, or something that we're just, is this a red flag, or is this something that's not going away? And if it's something that's not going away, I'm not going to stay in relationship with them. We're going to get out of business together somehow.
Yeah, so I think Lynn, maybe we should just talk through this for a second. I don't even have any notes on this, and you probably don't either. And I mean, I have a situation like that right now, and I know everybody deals with this all the time. If you're to the point where you know that you need to sever the relationship, it's not going away, you need to sever it. I think a reason that a lot of people have the fear around not doing that is because of the relationships that person may have with their people, with other people that they have. So if for an agent, it could be the relationships that person has with your clients or your database.
Yes.
Or, for an office, it could be the relationship that staff member has with all of your agents in your market center.
Yes.
And I think that's such a big reason why people continue to go down this cycle, because not of the relationship between those two, it's the relationship with the difficult person and all the other people that they're in relationship with. Because it's funny, I had a conversation this morning. So many people in that situation may like the person, but would they hire the person or would they work with that? It's just, there's a huge difference.
Well, what we're worried about is the consequences of a decision that we feel like we need to make. And I can almost go back to instances when I have felt that very way, where I knew the relationship was toxic and they had to go. But what I didn't know is what would be the collateral damage if I stepped up and went ahead and asked them to leave.
Yep.
And, I think about years ago, an experience like that I had. And it was so interesting because actually what Gary told me to do when he coached me was, in this particular situation, was to put her in a leadership role. I really thought he had freaking lost his mind. I'm like, he did not, the difficult person. And I thought he has got to have lost his mind. Did he not hear what I said? Because I said, this woman is crazy. And I'll be darned if what he said wasn't the right thing to do, because when I put her in a leadership role, the whole world saw how she really was, because she had this charisma and this thing about her that people followed her.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those kind of fake charismas. And I say fake meaning there was no authenticity to it. It didn't go deep. You know what I'm saying? She's fun. She was fun and people loved her, and oh my gosh. And you were mesmerized by her, but there was no substance, no deep authenticity of genuinely caring about other people and helping other people, accomplish anything or do anything. So, but at the time I was too immature in my leadership to understand that and know that. And so I was always amazed at his wisdom, because what happened was we went from being super afraid to get rid of the person to, once she was exposed to everyone, there was no damage when we got rid of the person. So, I mean, I know that's kind of hard. And I think there is a gray space where, as a leader, you have to sometimes step back and take a little bit of time to figure that out and weigh out what your consequences would be. And I feel like I've watched certain great leaders not get rid of someone probably when they first figured out that they should, but strategically when it was better for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I don't know that we're ever going to have a clear answer. Okay, now's the time and there'll be no collateral damage. I don't think we're ever going to have that. But I always think that you always can recover. You got to weigh out how much damage is being done right now. And I think about someone else that reached out to me that lost someone on their team recently, and they just were so devastated by it. And it's never as devastating as you think it's going to be. In other words, it will be okay no matter what it is. Your plans and your dreams have to be so much bigger than that one person that leaves your team or leaves you, that, and sometimes we get emotionally attached, and we're shocked by someone because we feel like we poured into that person more, or maybe we knew them when they were younger and we kind of helped raise them up and we thought they'd be with us. I don't know what we think, that maybe they'll be with us forever.
We
And we
justify
need to
it.
understand it's not personal. People do what they think they need to do. We can only say, if I didn't want to lose this person, what could I have done differently? What did I miss about where they wanted to go with their life and what they wanted to accomplish? Or where did I make them feel like a better option was to go someplace else to get what it is that they needed?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah. So one of the things too I wrote down was to ask myself, where was I not clear up front? Because a lot of times when I watch someone sever a relationship and there is like really bitter, hard feelings, there's an expectation somewhere or that wasn't clear. Or let's say, for example, I think most problems happen because of missed expectations. So my answer to that would be, when we make an agreement, always get it in writing, because it's on that front end that everybody's so happy and so excited about the opportunity. And it's when it begins to be bumpy and it's not working out and you have to let go of someone, that it needed to be clear. And I'll give you a really good example of this. Years ago, early in our learning to lead people, and oh my gosh, I could probably write 10 pages of things we've learned. And by the way, my leadership got better when I worked on myself. The more I worked on myself, the better my leadership got. And it's by no means perfect. And I know there's still going to be bumps, even though I don't want to, I don't want to admit that, but hopefully there's going to be fewer and fewer. But there was a particular person that we went into a relationship with, and we weren't clear on what the person was getting. In other words, in their mind, they were actually getting ownership. And in our mind, they were getting what we called phantom stock, which meant no ownership, but as long as, well, we weren't clear about how long or when or whatever, big lesson learned.
Yeah.
They would get a piece of the profits. And so that's two big different things.
Yeah.
One has a stock exchange and the other one doesn't. And so, man, we learned a really early lesson to be real clear, because a lot of times we'll do some kind of equity earn in. We don't mind sharing equity with people if they earn it. And so when you're going to do those kind of situations, you need to be real clear, and so everybody needs to sign the piece of paper that's real clear, because in the end, with that person, we wound up having to buy them out as if they were actually a stock owner. And it was a big chunk of money at the time. Now, of course, looking back, it was the best chunk of money we've ever spent, but it was a lot of money. And a lot of times when you're in those situations, you wind up having to pay more than you normally would if you weren't in that situation. So one of the things I said is just be real clear, because I think most disagreements and problems happen when we don't hear the same thing, or what I said it was going to be and what they heard it was going to be was two different things. So a miscommunication on expectations and clarity around that.
Yeah. You said one thing, and actually that made me think of something else that we learned at John Maxwell, but you said one thing about finding your DNA in it, and then, knowing what the mistake was. And I loved one of the things that John talked to us about when we were there, what to do as a leader when you fall short. And sometimes with difficult people, that's even harder.
Yeah.
You fall short with a difficult person. And I love the little tidbits that he gave us around that. And that's kind of the same thing that you said of finding your own DNA. But he said, share openly how you feel. So, where was your DNA in it? How did you let them down, or where did you fall short? Because he said disappointment causes you to withdraw, and then you don't trust yourself and your emotions. And so that ties back in the emotional part of it as well. And I thought, man, that is so true, because he said, oh, what was the quote? Oh, I know. He said, because ultimately, if you don't wish more for the people that you lead, no matter if they're difficult or not, then you shouldn't be their leader, basically, was what he was talking about. And I thought that is so true, especially when dealing with difficult people.
Yeah, because I think for me, when he said that, I highlighted that in yellow, because I am a pull back and pull away person. And it really takes a lot of extra energy for me to lean in, especially if someone's emotional, if they're illogical. In other words, if the stuff that comes out of their mouth doesn't even make, well, I think I said this before on the podcast. It was called, what did Gary call it one time? It's like what, when someone doesn't have a normal response, it wasn't like normal man, but you remember when I told you that?
Yeah.
That's what I think about when somebody comes off super illogical and emotional. I really don't know how to deal with that. And so one of the things I've learned is to back up and give myself some space, because I will answer back. I'm a fighter. One of the things that Jimmy always says about Trump is that he's a counter puncher. Like if you punch him, he's going to punch you back. And it's so weird. I came from a family that we did a lot of fighting, and I've really had to learn I am a counter puncher too. If you punch at me, the first thing my instinct is going to be is to punch back. Yep. And I guess it's from growing up with brothers who were bigger and older, and I just could fight like a cat. I mean, seriously, if I needed to, and cuss like a sailor and fight like a cat, But I've learned that's not a good response, and that's not a good thing to do. So one of the things I have to really do is give myself some space.
Yeah.
And the other thing to do is I'm a reach out to other people person.
Me too.
My first instinct is, who else could I talk through with this to see if I'm so emotional about it that I'm now making up stories, or, seeing things that aren't there, or hearing things that aren't being said. And so I will usually have 2 or 3 go-to people and try to run it by them and see if my thinking's off, or if I'm just too emotionally involved now. But I withdraw if somebody gets too emotional and I can't make sense of their stupid stuff they're saying, because it's not logical stuff. I will pull away, because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to, I'll either start punching back with stupid emotional stuff, or I'll withdraw completely from that person, because it's like, I can't deal with this.
I'm the same exact way. And now I'm just laughing because Blair is so good at saying to me, you need to evoke the 24-hour rule. You need to evoke the 24-hour rule. And I'm like, okay, why do you say that? And she'll be like, no, you're like at a 9, you're almost to a 10. You need to evoke the 24-hour rule, because I'm the same way. And I think I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like I get defensive, or if I just get mad, or what. But it's evoking the 24-hour rule works for me. And I always try to seek somebody. This is when you need the adultier adult. It's like that quote that I love that says, the moment that you realize you're an adult, but you're in a situation where you need an adult, so you look for an adultier adult.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I love that. Jimmy and I used to have this thing where, because we're both high Ds, so high Ds tend to react before they think. And so I would always say, because, a lot of times if you've got somebody that's real close to you, if someone attacks them, they'll go attack that person for you. So we've had to learn to say to each other, look, this is my reaction, not my response.
Right.
Meaning, I don't want you to go counter punch the person, because I just want to vent to you. And so just let me have my reaction. This is not my response. When I calm down, I'll give you a response.
Adam has to do that to me. Me, not so much him, because he's definitely the much calmer one. But if he has an issue with somebody and he tells me about it, I'm ready to like let loose. And he's like, okay, I was just telling you that. I don't need you to call him or do anything. But it's definitely, it can be, it's part of being a leader. I actually had a leader text me last night, screenshots of emails from somebody that they're having a difficult time with, saying, am I overreacting, or would you read this email the same way too? I'm like, well, in this case, no, I would probably read it the same way too.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, what we have to do is, again, we have to, get them to back up and say, how emotional are you? Because I think when we're too emotional, there is no way we're going to be able to respond in the higher road and the way that we need to.
Nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah. We don't want the problem to escalate.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
What would be some final thoughts as we wrap up here that you would offer anyone, who's struggling with leadership and who sometimes asks themselves, should I continue down this road of trying to succeed through people, or would I be better off? I've often thought one of the reasons I have multiple incomes is because I think sometimes I get more excited about houses when I've had a rough patch with people.
Totally.
So I'll go back to saying, I think I should buy some more investment properties, or, I think I could do a vacation rental. I think sometimes that's my escape to get around and to get away from the people issues sometimes. So I think that's one reason why I have multiple streams of income that I can work on that, even though we do have people that run our property management company, sometimes just to go buy a house feels good because the house doesn't talk back and the house doesn't argue and the house doesn't get disappointed in you and all those things.
Yep. Very, very true. I would just say what you kind of started with, which is, you don't go very far when you go by yourself. And I think we have to have people around us in order to have bigger lives. And so my, I guess, the last piece of advice, which this is something that I work on daily, is when the leader gets better, everyone gets better. So the best thing, in my opinion, you can do is pour it back into yourself and be learning based, which we talk about all the time, and figure out how to be a great leader and listen to podcasts and read books and go to seminars. I mean, you and I laughed and said we're seminar junkies. And when looking back through my pictures, for my picture journal of the year, I thought, man, I sure went to a ton this year that I forgot that I went to. But my normal reaction would have been to feel guilty around that because I would have spent time out of the office or away from my team or whatever. And instead, I've totally changed my mindset because I know that when the leader gets better, everyone else gets better. So I just think the more that you can pour into yourself, that's only going to help everybody else around you, and help you become a better leader. Because if you really want a big life, you're going to have to lead people. Unless somebody's discovered a way around that, I'm pretty sure that there's not. It's just kind of the fact of it.
Yeah. So true. And, I would say people will disappoint you, love them anyway. And the greatest lessons we're ever going to get is when we get back up and we decide that it's a worthwhile journey to succeed with and through people and to take people with us rather than succeed around them. And so just have people you can talk to, that you can reach out to, that would understand about leading other people, and that would kind of bring you off the cliff and make you think about things logically instead of emotionally.
Totally.
And then again, I think this is where going to fierce conversations at least once or twice a year would really, really pay off.
Yeah.
Because I think, there's always a lesson in there that usually when I look back, there's always something from fierce conversations that I can go back to and say, well, I need to learn to do this a little better because I'm still getting that same lesson over and over again.
Yeah, I've used that dang beach ball about 15 times this year, so it works.
Yeah, so true. So we'd like to invite you to subscribe to our podcast, and we'd also appreciate you leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. The best compliment you can give Dana and I would be to share this podcast with a friend. And remember, if you have a question, submit it to info@lindamckissick.com or on Instagram at #everythinglifeinrealestate. And if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and have Dana and I help you with a situation, opportunity, or challenge, be sure and submit your name to us at info@lindamckissick.com with a brief description of what you would like to talk about with us. And remember, the more you let us know about where you are in your life or your business, the more we're going to be able to offer help to you on that particular situation. So thanks for joining us today. And Dana, I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.